Becoming a successful business owner, coming from someone who's bought and sold multiple companies, who owns 4 currently right now, and who's helped hundreds of people buy and close businesses and leave their W-2s to create generational wealth, I'm here to tell you that to become a successful business owner, the biggest thing you're going to have to do is to learn how to go from a W-2 employee to an owner. So I'm going to give you a few different specific points that you need to focus on to understand the differences in how they think. So when you think of a W-2 employee, you think of your role, what you have on your plate. You might manage a few people, but ultimately, there's very little outside of the scope of what your role or what your team's role is. As an owner, you care about everything. You care about sales. You care about administration, accounting, operations, the financials, everything you're going to focus on, right? And you need to think like this. You need to also then think, secondly, most people that are in W-2 jobs are thinking about the job they have in front of them and that they have to do that. As an owner, I'm here to tell you, I became an owner so that I could do what I want and then not do what I don't want. And then also focusing on what am I great at and hiring where I'm not great. So as an owner, you've got to be able to do that really well. You need to identify where you need to be in the business. Maybe you've got sales or marketing background. Great, lead that, do that. If you're not in that area and don't have expertise in that space, give it to someone that's good and hire someone that's great at it, right? Because where you're not great, your team and your company will not do great. So it's very much a more self-reflective journey about what you're great at and not great at and hiring for it, and then understanding those differences in the skill sets. And then the third thing is you really have to focus on where you're going to pay yourself. So people talk about, making sure that profit's first, but you've got to focus on a lot of things. As an owner, and especially as an owner when you use an SBA loan, you have to make sure you're factoring every little thing. And so the few things that are different here is it's kind of like budgeting in your personal finances. Like you can't go out and spend every dollar you have, right? You need to have 3 months or 6 months worth of savings. Being a business owner, you have to think about that on the business side. So how much money do you spend as a company each month? How long does it take you to collect cash from your customers? You need to then make sure you have at least a few months of buffer. And if you're more conservative like me, it's more like 6 months. And so I keep a lot of cash in the bank, and we make sure that I'm not just distributing all of that to myself and to my investors, but that we make sure that we have what's called working capital, or if we're going to reinvest to grow with ads and digital marketing, that we keep enough in the bank so that we're able to do little tests here and there. So those are just some of the key elements between a W-2 employee and an owner that you've got to be able to do to become a successful business owner.